Yo, what's going on, guys? It's G Miners here. As you saw in the title, today we are going over a double stasis turret build that is going to make master content way too easy. I ended up running a very similar build last season for most of the Master VOG challenges. If you want to see how that original build compares to this one, I will have a link to that in the description below, but this new build is going to feel much stronger as you will have over double the turrets out at all times. This is going to be very similar to the build that I posted on my previous video, but with a warlock instead. If you happen to be a hunter main and want to check that build out, a link to that will also be in the description below. This build itself is going to center around the brand new exotic gauntlets osmiomancy gloves. The main perk we are going to be utilizing are the double cold snap grenades. We will now be able to obviously store 2 of these, which without any mods, fragments, or weapons that boost ability regen, we will be able to have 100% uptime on bleakwatchers with something like 70 or 80 discipline. Obviously, if we can make the cooldown of these even better, we might as well do it. So let's look at how we can do this within our subclass first. Since we are using Osmios and want the stasis turrets, we are going to need cold snap grenades and the bleakwatcher aspect, but for our second aspect, we are going to be running ice flare bolts. This aspect spawns seekers when killing a frozen target that track to nearby targets and then freeze them too, so this is going to be a great way to spread stasis around super quick to larger groups of adds. As far as fragments go, we are running Whisper of Fissures. This is going to increase the size and explosion of shattering enemies. This ends up making a pretty substantial difference in terms of damage, especially when under power in end game content. Whisper of Refraction will give us a ton of class ability energy for our kills on frozen enemies, so we can rely on our Rift much more often. Whisper of Torment will help keep our grenades recharging as we get energy based on the amount of damage that we take from enemies. And then lastly, Whisper of Durance is going to allow our slow and our freeze effects to last longer, and then for our stasis turrets to be out longer as well. Now that we have these subclass laid out, let's go take a look at the mods we are using to take this build to the next level. First and foremost, we are going to be using the Charged with Light mod Blast Radius in order to get charged with light on rapid explosive kills. Now this means we are going to need a grenade launcher to consistently get charged. So if you find that you cannot use this on the build, depending on the champions you have or any other reason, then this can be switched around. Other alternatives are Sustained Charge if you want to run something like Egger's Scepter, Quick Charge for fusion rifles, or just Taking Charge for picking up orbs. After this, we are going to be using 3 copies of the mod Firepower. Each of these, I believe, provides 15% of our grenade back when we throw it, consuming 1 stack of Charged with Light in the process. This means each turret we throw will immediately be charged back up to 45% of its total energy, so if we go into an encounter with 2 stacks of Charged with Light, we can almost immediately throw out 3 turrets. The last mod slot available can be filled with really whatever you want. For higher level pieces of content, high energy fire is great for things like champions. The only downfall to this mod is it will become hard to maintain charges of light to use with firepower as you lose a stack each time you get a kill with high energy fire. You can always just run another firepower too, but I personally just use melee wellmaker. The only other major mods we are running with this build are the bomber mods on a solar class item. Since we are using Whisper of Refraction for increased class ability energy when killing frozen targets, we are going to be able to use this very often for an additional boost in grenade energy. With this extra energy, now there is no downtime when spawning 3 turrets right in a row. As far as weapon choices go, since this is for master content, I left the weapon slots open so that any champion mod weapons you want can be used. But that being said, I like to try and build my loadout around Salvager's Salvo. Any other special weapon that can charge you with light and preferably has demo will also be a great option, but seeing as this build revolves heavily around grenade energy and staying charged with light, I think Salvagers is the best option. Compared to the other stasis build I have with Osmios, I think this one feels much slower, but with a turret build, that is going to be expected. This build is going to focus much more on staying back and letting the stasis turrets freeze enemies before we do anything ourselves. The other build I have is a lot more in your face with the enemies and playing risky for insane ad clear. Ultimately, turrets are going to be way better for master content, and at the end of the day, with this build, you still always have the option to use your cold snaps as regular grenades, so you kind of get the best of both worlds with this build. When it comes to Master Val, this is going to be amazing for Acquisition, Caretaker, and the Rolk fight at the very end, because each of these is going to require a girthy amount of ad clear. You could probably even manage to use this build during Exhibition if you wanted to as well. It's your choice. Anyways, that is all for this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this build in the comments below. Have a good one. Peace.